Hello, algebra students. This is Mr. Wirtz here. Um, for the assignment 6.06a, I'm going to ask you to create a box plot graph. Okay, now we learned about box plots in section 6 and kind of what they look like. Sometimes they're called a box and whisper graph. Um, what we're going to do for this assignment, instead of having you draw one by hand, I'm going to show you how you can create one in Google Sheets. Okay, it's part of the Google slate of tools that you can use. You're used to using Docs for sure, for a lot of you are, but we're going to use the spreadsheet version of that, which is called Sheets. And that is the advantage of that, of course, is that it's going to be available to everyone to use. And so you don't have to worry about getting it or anything like that. It's if you have a computer with web access, you can get to Google Drive, you can get to Google Sheets. It has pretty good spreadsheet. It has a pretty good set of graphing tools, chart making tools. So that's what we're going to use. All right. In order to create a graph, of course, we need some data. And we are going to use some data that is located in a spreadsheet that I made. So you don't have to create the data. You can use the data that I made for you and use that to create a graph. And so the link to that is located in the section for 6.0, 6.06a. And there's a link for the template that we're going to use for that. And so I'm going to click on it. And the spreadsheet basically has to do with ACT test results. They are fictional, so you don't have to worry about these being real or anything like that. They're just some numbers I typed in. The ACT test, of course, is a test that juniors take, and it is a standardized test. It is meant to determine college readiness for the student that takes the test. All right, so the goal, of course, is to get the highest score as you can. The maximum score you can get on the ACT is a 36, and the lowest, of course, I guess would be a 0 if you decided to turn in an empty test. All right, now we have some numbers here that vary between low to high. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these scores to create our box plot graph. Okay, now in Google Sheets, they're called candlestick graphs, candlestick charts. All right, and so before we can do that, we have to do something with this spreadsheet, this Google Sheet. The reason why I say that is because it is set up to share with you to view. Okay, and so if it's set up the right being to view, that means that you can look at it, but you can't change it. And we're going to need to change things in here in order for you to do things. And so in order for you to be able to work with this spreadsheet, you're going to have to make a copy for yourself. The way that we do that is to go to the File menu and go down to Make a Copy. And this is going to make a copy that you will be able to edit yourself. All right, and the name, you can rename it here if you want, or you can rename it later. And it's going to go into it. Hopefully, it goes into your own folder. All right, and then we go ahead and click on OK. And now we were going to make the same. We're going to make a copy of the same file, basically. Okay. All right, so now you have a copy that you can work with. Now, to make a box plot graph, we need to find 4 numbers. Okay, actually a fifth, the median is helpful, but we don't actually need the median in order to make the graph itself. The median is a useful number that you could calculate as well. But the ones that we need to make the graph are going to be the minimum and the maximum. Those are the low and the high scores. If the numbers are small enough, you can kind of figure out what they are, but we're going to actually use formulas for that. And then we need to calculate a lower quartile and an upper quartile. Those are kind of where the boxes in the box plot graph sort of start and end. All right. Now, If you're not, if you've never used a spreadsheet before, if we want to type in another number here, let's say another student came in and they're very smart. They scored a 33. So we're going to put that at the bottom here in row 19 in column A, or we call it A19. Okay, so we type in a 33. I type in the number, but in a spreadsheet the values have to actually be entered in, so I have to press the enter key or return on maybe on a Mac or something like that. Okay, and then that number gets entered into that cell. All right. Now, to find the minimum, lower quartile, upper quartile, and maximum, we're going to actually use formulas. And the reason why we're going to do that is that it's going to calculate the value for us, which is nice. But then it also allows changes to be made to the actual scores, and then it will recalculate automatically for us, which is nice. That's what we would basically want. So formulas are good. You have to know what the formulas are, and so we'll talk about that for a little bit. Okay, so I have my Excel pointer at E5, and I'm going to find the minimum value of those scores that we have right there. And you could probably look at them and say, well, Mr. Wirtz, it's 11. I can see that's 11 very clearly. That may be true, but we're still going to use a formula because those numbers can change. All right, and we want to make it so if it changes, then things get recalculated. The formula that we use to find the minimum is the min formula. We start by typing in the equal sign, and we type in min, short for minimum. Okay, and now when we find the minimum, we want to find we need to put in parentheses. Left and right parentheses is a range of values. And so basically we want to add up all these numbers, A3, A4, A5. I'm not going to type in the numbers themselves. I'm going to type in the locations. Okay, but the easier way to do that is to just take your mouse, hold down the left mouse button, and drag down and basically choose a range of values. Okay, when we do that, notice with after the left parenthesis, we hit A3 colon A19. And basically this is A3, this is A19, so it's going to choose all the values between A3 and A19. Okay, and it's going to find the minimum value, the lowest value. Now remember from algebra, if you have an equation with a lefty parenthesis, you have to put in a right parenthesis to finish it up. Okay, and then we press enter. And that enters that formula in, and as we suspected, the value is 11. Okay, very good. That was easy enough. We're going to do one that's going to be a little bit more challenging, but not too bad. All right, the lower quartile and the upper quartile, sometimes the lower quartile is called the first quartile. Basically, that's the value where 25% of the people are below that score. All right. And 75% are above that score. So if you think about it, it's not a terribly good score. All right, the formula for this, we start with the equal sign, and the command is called quartile. Now, spelling it is a bit of a challenge, but it kind of, as you can see, Google Sheets kind of helps us out with the commands, sort of fills it in for us. Now, the quartile command requires us to put in the range of data like we did for the previous one. So we're going to take the mouse and we're going to highlight the values. We're going to highlight the cells, that have the values in them, the data. Okay. And but that's not enough. We need more information. We need to know what the quartile number is. So for the lower quartile, we're going to choose, that's going to be the first quartile, so we're going to type in a number 1. So the value for that is either for these purposes, it's either going to be 1 or 2, or 1 or 3. Excuse me, 1 or 3. Okay, And when we do that, we see that the lower quartile is an 18. 18 is kind of a, for ACT score is not great, although it might be good enough if you want to go to technical college, but you generally want to get a higher score than that. All right, we'll do the same thing here. And this is the upper quartile. All right, left parentheses, highlight the data, and then put in a comma and a 3 and a right comma. While you are working on this, feel free to pause your video or rewind if you need to see something again. That's fine. That's why a video is nice. Okay, upper quartile is 28, and our last one is the maximum, and we're going to use the command called max. And we're going to highlight the data, right parentheses, enter, and now we have our numbers. All right, so what we need now is to put this into a chart. These are basically the numbers that we need to make a box plot chart. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mouse, I'm going to highlight the labels, and I'm going to highlight the numbers. All right, and we're going to insert a chart. All right, and so we go to the insert menu and we go down and we find chart. And when you do that, you get the common charts here, your bar charts and your your pie charts and line charts and whatever. We want something that's not quite, a little more out of the ordinary, so we're going to go to chart types, and you get quite a few more choices here. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to look for something that is this one here. This is called the candlestick chart, which is about the same as the box chart, except it's on its it goes up and down instead of sideways. All right, and it tells us the required data doesn't match. And the way that we can get it to match is by switching the rows and the columns. And when we do that, our graph shows up. This is the minimum, which was about 11, I believe, and here's our maximum, which was at maximum was about 33, I believe, and then lower quartile and upper quartile. Okay, and that's basically what we need for this. And so we're going to take that and we're going to insert it into our spreadsheet, and we can move this sort of out of the way. And that's pretty much all you need to do to finish this assignment. The only thing that you have left to do once you get this done is you want to come over here and you want to take a look at your sharing, how you have sharing set up. Okay, now this one you can set this up. Yours might not be set for sharing at all, so you might want to set this up to share. You can either share it, basically you go here and you can say anyone with the link can view, or you can go ahead and say, if you only want me to see it, you can type in my email iForward address, and you can kind of see it filling in for you. It's ken.wertz@iforwardwisconsin.com, and you can go ahead and send that to me. And you actually can click here, and my picture shows up, and it says that I can edit. I'll be able to see it, and if I want to make some changes to it, or maybe write it in a little bit, I can do that. And then you would click on send. Okay, so once you have that, you'll be able to submit this for grading within Buzz. All right, and you can set that. You can share it as a Google Drive from your Google Drive. It's not a Google Doc; it's a Google Sheet, but you still would be able to share it that way. All right, and so let me know if you have any questions as you're working on this assignment, and hopefully you learned something about doing some graphing within spreadsheets. Take care.